I'm just here to introduce the stars of the panel. My name is Paulo, and I'm introducing here Giada Gerotto.
Correct.
Customer Excellence Champion of Creative Words, a boutique company from the traditional LSP space headquartered in Italy that is known for its focus on innovation and dynamism. And introduce also Viviana Bertinetto, Chief Customer Office of Language.io. Language.io is a technology company focused on delivering secure, real-time conversations through the power of AI. Please.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Question. How many of you, put your hands up, please, if you think you mistreat your customers? Oh, cool. OK. Well, that's very few hands. And it's probably very few hands because all of our companies tend to be quite customer-focused. So I can hear you thinking, OK, we all treat our customers well. What are you even going to talk about today? And what we're going to talk about is customer centricity. And that has quite a different connotation from customer focus. A customer-focused company is a company that thinks of their product, or their service in our case, as the main focus. They're there, they keep on developing their product or their service, they strive to make it perfect, and then they try to get as many customers as possible to buy their product or service, as many customers as possible that they need to convince that their product is perfect. Customer centricity shifts the focus. The focus there is the customer. You don't strive to make your product perfect and then sell it, but you strive to meet what your customer wants. So customer-focused companies are still product-focused. So they focus on the value created by the product, where customer-centric companies focus on the value created by each single customer. Customer centricity is something that's very typical of software as a service companies. So maybe Viviana is the best person to let us know more about that.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a few concepts here that we were trying to illustrate that maybe they can be considered lessons, right? Or just, again, important concepts that come from the software as a service space, right? So if you think about a sale, right, when you sell services, that's typically very transactional. So you're selling once, and that sale is closed, right? Whereas in the SaaS space, a sale is not one and done because you have renewals, right? And that renewal and that recurring revenue is really what generates your growth. And so truly each renewal is your opportunity to continuously prove to your customers that your product has value, that what you offer to them is valuable, right? So it changes the game a little bit. And customer centricity in the SaaS space is truly seen as a pillar for growth for companies because ultimately, especially when macroeconomic conditions like the ones we are in today really make new business a little more difficult to acquire. I think everybody knows that these days sales cycles are usually longer than they were before, even just a year ago. So the focus has really shifted to existing customers, and your existing customers can really become the main focus for your growth. And that's why there's also a concept in SaaS that's called customer-led growth, right? So now you may be asking yourself, okay, this is all great, but what should we do? What should we do to maybe begin this journey of becoming customer-centric? Well, it starts with asking questions, maybe not any question, right? It's about that discovery phase that I think everybody in sales is very familiar with. It's about maybe asking without interrogating, asking to listen, right? And not just to get out some piece of information and then you're immediately going to use to spin the conversation and push your sale, right? So this can be a little bit difficult, I think. It can be a bit of an art, But we have tried to put together some questions that we feel are useful for you to understand a little bit more of what your customer needs and how to start your journey to become more customer-centric.
Probably the way to connect to that is that we are trying to shift the focus from salespeople only asking questions to the entire company asking questions, and that's at least in the LSP space is not something that happens every time. Sometimes PMs are more like, well, the customer said so, that's what the customer wants. I'm not going to ask questions. What we are trying to reconsider is this kind of approach. So, is this going? Yes. So, the questions that are here will probably resonate with the salespeople in the audience or with people who are doing sales anyway. But the first thing is knowing about your customers' goals, and then knowing how you can help your customers get there. And then again, you is not only sales, it's you, everybody in the company. Then there's also the challenges, right, that they are experiencing. How you can help them with these challenges.
Identify any gaps in what you're offering that may be there and that you may have to change if you really want to truly help your customers. And it's important to also think about, is there anybody else that I should be speaking to? Am I talking to the right audience? Am I talking to people that are really the stakeholders for what I'm offering, right? Or should I involve other people?
And should I involve other people on my side as well? Because maybe there are stakeholders who are more relevant to talk to with the customers. Sometimes it happens that customers ask you something that you just don't know the answer to, and it's okay to bring people in. But it's a lot of effort.
Yes, absolutely. It does sound like a lot of effort and a lot of change. So, you may be asking yourself, why would we want to do that, right? So we want to help you answer that question if we can and look at some of the results, right? So the most obvious one, and I think everybody who is in sales here will love this one, is it is an opportunity to upsell or cross-sell your products, right? Because again, you're listening, you're finding out more information, maybe you get connected to other people within the company, and you discover that someone else needs your products, and all of a sudden, you have a new sale from your existing customers. You also may be able to uncover some of the needs, some of the pain points that your customers may be having that you maybe didn't know existed before. Or on the other hand, you may even be able to help your customers make some changes with some of their processes or something that you are noticing isn't really working in what they're doing, right? So that can be very powerful as well. And this obviously leads to just mutual understanding, better mutual understanding, and again, understanding where the customer is going, where you as a company are going, and try to just align as much as possible. And hopefully, you'll be able to prevent something that is known as silent quitting. I think if there is anybody in the audience who is in operations, sales, or customer success, that is the worst, when you all of a sudden think your customer is doing really well and everybody's really happy, and then boom, they come to you, tell you, sorry, we are onboarding another vendor, we're leaving. Well, my opinion is that ultimately this can happen, and it's okay if it happens with transparency. So again, if you talk to your customers often, you ask the right questions, you may be able to understand what's going on their side too, in terms of, are they being asked to look at other vendors, right? Or are they sort of maybe pretending that everything is working because they don't feel like they can communicate with you that something is not going well? And connected to this in a sense, it can help you to understand if you have to redefine your priorities, right? If there is maybe something you're doing that isn't really working, or perhaps there are other services you may be offering, maybe you can partner with another company, right? And you can all of a sudden diversify what you're doing. And lastly, as Giada was also mentioning, if you realize you're not talking to the right people, well, then you do get introduced, and then all of a sudden, you're meeting new stakeholders and new champions and new people that hopefully become a fan of what you're doing and that help you grow as well. So, Giada, let's continue a little bit, and now we're going to shift it and talk about our experiences as well, right? And how we made some of these points happen in our own companies. So, Giada, maybe you can start. Tell us.
Yeah, when we were preparing
your journey.
When we were preparing this presentation, it was actually quite fun because, of course, Viviana's coming from the SaaS world, so all of this is built in the DNA of her company. But it isn't in ours, and my colleagues here can confirm it's been 1 year of huge changes within Creative Words. We've basically rebuilt the company from scratch. It's been a lot of effort. And I was wondering, okay, but where did we start? Because it all felt like a process. I will not say it was easy, believe me. It was by far not the easiest thing to do. And I thought the main reason why we did that was the mindset. We realized we were wearing a dress that wouldn't fit us anymore. We had already started thinking in a customer-centric mindset, but our structure was not mirroring that, and our processes were not always mirroring that. So it's been something we needed to stop and look at and say, okay, we need to take a step back, and we need to see how we can go in that direction. And precisely, I think this is, once again, an opportunity to reconsider the fact that it's something that goes to all departments within the company. That is, it really spreads within the company once you get started. But although it was very messy and very, very complicated, when you submit a proposal for Gala, they tell you have to give the audience some takeaways. So we had to sit and think, okay, what are we going to tell these people, really, apart from it was a mess? So we tried to draft a roadmap of what we've gone through and trying to consider some sort of milestones that we've been through in this journey. And the first thing is identify your target customers. That's, again, quite fun because we were rehearsing the presentation yesterday or the day before. And she was like, yeah, but this is ideal customer profiling. And I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't know. It seems to be like quite a common concept in SaaS, and it's probably familiar to most of you. It wasn't for me. But apparently, it's pretty normal that you have to understand which ones of your existing customers are the customers you can apply this sort of customer-centric approach to, at least to start with. So it's a matter of finding some allies and some sort of playground where you can test your new assumptions, your new processes, and say, okay, will this work? I don't really know, but we need to test it out. Second thing was tracking data and sharing visibility throughout the entire chain. How often did it happen that sales sold something within your companies, and then it went to operations and to production, and the vendor manager, sorry, I come from there, so that's my story, would be like, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't sell this service.
It never happens.
Never, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. It never happens. Sales closes a deal, and they throw it over the fence to customer success, and customer success is like, what is this that we're supposed to be doing?
So what? Right? It's like, so what? So we thought of reviewing the form that information would be shared within the teams, and that's quite important, I feel. We started to track more data, and we started to track information more organically within the company, and to talk more cross-functionally, if you may say so, to share the information and keep track of that information so that it would ultimately help everybody in the journey. And then the third thing was customizing interactions. Now, in SaaS, the contact with the customer is split in 3 different categories. So you have touch points, you have interactions, and you have engagement. Touch points are basically one direction. So it's the customer that comes to you to request a quote. or you that provide a quote to the customer. It's almost one way, right? What we did was trying to change that approach and making it become an interaction from the very first stage. So moving from touch points to interactions, which is 2 directions, which is like open up the conversation with your customer from the very beginning, no matter what the contact point is. Maybe the PM, it may be sales. In sales, that's quite obvious, but it may be a bit everywhere. And finally, we started to track the process. This is, of course, not going to lead to immediate growth and like to double your revenue in a month. But it's very important to keep track of what's working and what not. So we set some sort of KPIs to monitor that. And what we're keeping track of at the moment is retention rate. It's conversion rate of customers coming from a traditional approach rather than a customer-centric approach. And we're trying to keep track of business increase from the existing account base.
And by the way, if your revenue does double because of what we told you to do, we want to cut. So let us know, and we will find you if you don't let us know.
Very, very good set point. So all in all, yeah, the focus is that it's sort of everybody contributing to the cause. And that's why we thought it would be relevant not only for salespeople who probably know all of what we are saying, but like a bit more extensively, right? Mm-hmm. What's your dream team? How is that? How does that work in a typical SaaS company?
So I think, saying that it's a team sport, it's pretty accurate as a person who also doesn't particularly like to exercise. So it does feel like it's a bit of an effort. But ultimately, again, the results are valuable, right? So as far as we're concerned, at Language.io, so I manage the customer success team and the customer support team, and then I also manage a localization operations team. So what I love about my job and what I love in general about customer success is that we really get to touch a lot of areas of our company. We get to talk to a lot of people within the company, and we really get exposed to so much that happens right within your company. And I think it's so important to break any silos that you may identify. So as far as we're concerned, we clearly talk to sales. We love our salespeople. We do. There is no animosity between sales and customer success. Don't believe if anybody tells you otherwise. Maybe sometimes, okay.
Maybe.
But I think what happens once again is a communication, right? So for us, it's super important to have a clear handoff when a sale is made. Because then we can understand how we can make our customers successful. If you don't make your customer successful, if they don't see the value in your product, if they don't reach the outcomes that they want to reach when they purchase your product, eventually they will leave. So we don't want that to happen. We want to set them up for success right away. And so having this communication channel with sales is very important. And then, of course, we're a technology company. We build products, so we talk with our product organization. And again, I will say, sometimes it's not easy because it depends on your company, but some product organizations are so focused on building features, building things that are great and working perfectly that they forget that ultimately these products are bought by customers, right? And so establishing those what are called VOC programs, voice of the customer programs, for us is being very valuable, very important, and to keep that channel open so that sometimes people within product can also talk to the customers and hear firsthand what is going on, what it is that they're looking for. And I think super important to understand where the customers are going in the future, right? And maybe before we were thinking 5 years down the line, now it's even 6 months down the line that we want to know, so we can continue to keep up with what we're offering. And then, of course, there's marketing. We have to work with marketing because marketing wants to know, hey, these are very successful customers you have. Like, I want to find out, what they did. Like, what was their pain point? And why did they come to us? Did they look at other vendors, perhaps? What stood out when they chose our company? And then perhaps they want to build case studies, right? So that they can, publish them and then help with new business, right? So to have that promotional material always ready and available and updated. And then last but not least, like I said, I do have a localization operations teams as well under my umbrella. And for us, really as a technology company in the language space, quality is paramount, right? Quality is ultimately what a lot of our customers really care about. And so it is a very critical piece of our success plans with most of our customers, of course. So this is what it looks like at Language I/O. That doesn't mean that it has to look like that in other organizations. But Giada, how about maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it looks like at Creative Words?
Yeah, customer excellence at Creative Words is a new discovery sort of thing. We've set this department group up less than 1 year ago. And the vision that was behind that was that of creating some sort of fil rouge. Now, I don't know if you know the origin of the fil rouge expression, but one of them goes back to the Greek mythology of Theseus that was given a ball of red thread to get out of a labyrinth after killing the Minotaur. So it's basically something that's meant to help you and to guide you through difficult situations. And that's a bit what we tried to set up. We tried to set up something that would be connecting different sides of the company, different aspects of the company. So that includes sales and account management, pretty obvious, you might say, yes, I agree. Then it has resourcing, because our approach is always that of the so-called glass box model. So we are not hindering any visibility on the customer side on our resources. So it really does make sense to have everything together. And then also because vendor management is my baby, so I don't let it go pretty easily. And then there's a very strong connection with marketing for the exact same reasons that Viviana mentioned. And finally, quality, because what we've been talking about even earlier on in other presentations is that a quality now doesn't mean quality as a standard thing. It means fit for purpose. And who decides the fit for purpose is the customer again. So we thought that it would make sense to bring these departments together, and that's what we are trying to do. And that's the playground where we are experimenting. So the ultimate reason why we came up with this presentation is that we realized that our companies come from more or less different spaces, different setups, different sizes. But they seem to be sharing more or less the same customer-centric structure and approach, where the only difference is, at the end, product and resourcing. But in the end, it's a bit the same. There are software companies, so product is like the foundation of their service, and resourcing is translators. So it's the foundation of our business.
And that is ultimately what we realized as we were putting together this presentation, and why we thought it would be relevant, because of course, Gala has an audience of a lot of language service providers, and again, perhaps there's also a lot of technology companies, but we did notice the more we were talking about it, the more that, again, the challenges ultimately are the same. And I think no matter what your business looks like, for example, I know that the communication piece is always a challenge, right? And I think one thing I want to say is that we realize, and I think we continue to realize as we continue to talk, right, about our professional journeys, is that none of these strategies are just, a Band-Aid that's going to solve it forever, right? I mean, it really truly is a Band-Aid. At some point, it will fall off. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also important to continue to evaluate your processes, evaluate what you're doing, and see what isn't working. And especially at any point in time, that communication can break down, and it's up to you to see where it's happening and do something about it.
Yeah. We're going to end with some tips.
Yep. So first things first, walk the talk, right? So a lot of companies like to put, customer centricity in their mission. I think especially in SaaS companies, I see it all the time, right? And then guess what? They don't have a customer success team. Maybe they have an account management team, which, we may debate as long as we want. It's a little bit different, right? And so I think making sure that you are reflecting the customer centricity in your organization is paramount, because guess what? Your customers will notice, and they will know if you're not really, again, walking the talk, and you're not really implementing some of these strategies that can really help.
Mine is more basic, and let's open up the conversation. That means literally with everyone. everyone within your company, outside of your company. It's especially difficult for small LSPs or medium-sized LSPs to make big changes, or sometimes even small changes. And it's important to talk to others and to understand pain points, advantages of what everybody's going through.
And don't be afraid to involve the leadership team. So this can be, your own leadership team as well, to have higher level conversations, but also perhaps, your customer's leadership team. One thing that we try to do, for example, is I think everyone here is familiar with the concept of quarterly business review, right? The infamous QBRs. Well, think about it as maybe an EBR at least once a year, right? Where you have an executive business review. And you really should try to invite people that have different types of role, maybe in the leadership or executive team of your customers, because they may be closer to the organization's more corporate goals, right? And I think they can be, first of all, they can become your champions. And then when it's time to cut the check, a lot of the times they are the ones that decide the budget, right? So it's good to know those people.
And last challenge at status quo. Last year has been a difficult one, right? With this negativity dooming on all of us and all of our businesses.
Right. So AI and LLMs.
No, we had managed not to say any AI for the entire presentation, and now you spoiled it.
27 minutes. You can tell everyone they went 27 minutes without even saying the word.
But then you spoiled it all. Too bad. We could have won a prize for the non-AI presentation, but no.
Yes, unofficial prizes at Gala.
But seriously, there's no one way of doing business. You're there, you're thriving, your business is going well, and then something happens, and you're like, shit, what am I gonna do now? Don't be afraid of reconsidering priorities and reconsidering your structure and your inspiration models as well.
Absolutely.
And that's it, I guess. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed.